Welcome everyone to the webinar tonight. It's just after 8 p.m. AEST Australian time. I'm pretty excited tonight to welcome everyone to the webinar, and I'll continue adding people as they join. Tonight's a pretty special night. We've got the Dacxi Coin update and what's in the horizon. It's you know, a lot of really great stuff is happening with Dacxi. And a lot of us don't know or don't see or are not engaged in what's going on in the Dacxi world. And I'm very glad to have Mr. Ian Lowe, which is the Dacxi Global CEO. Of course, he's an Aussie based out of Sydney. So in my world, he's the Australian Dacxi man, but realistically, he is the global CEO and in charge of the boat. And I'm very, very grateful that he is. And I welcome you tonight, Ian. Thank you very much for joining. It's 8 p.m. in Sydney, so it's past your knockoff time. So thank you very much. And we're looking forward to hearing what's happening with Dacxi, where we're going, and the exciting stuff that you guys are doing in Dacxi Corporate to add value to the community, the exchange, and most importantly, to the coin. So thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Squid. Thanks for that outstanding intro, mate. Much appreciated. Good evening, good morning, everybody. I'm looking forward to just spending the next few minutes with you, providing an update on Dacxi Coin. And there's some information as it relates to the business itself that we're also going to provide along the way, because I think that'll enrich the discussion as it relates to the coin. So let's jump straight into it. Trying to work out why I can't get to the next slide. That's not a very good start, is it? Has anyone had that problem before?
I was just going to make you the host again, so.
Oh, right, it's working. Thank you. So look, the standard disclaimer, there's nothing in this presentation that constitutes financial advice, nor should it be considered financial advice, etc., etc. So look, a quick snapshot, and then I'm going to dive into a range of different areas in a little bit more detail. So what we want to start doing is to hit a regular cadence with these coin updates. And I think the right cadence is probably quarterly. So this is an update that covers us from December of last year through to March of this year. But I think we'll continue those on a quarterly basis. So look, Dacxi Coin stabilized following some price volatility leading up to December of last year. Since then, we've repositioned the Dacxi Coin much more around it being the cryptocurrency of Dacxi chain. And we released a new light paper, restated in that the strength of our use case and the strong demand that we believe we can realize. The coin marketing program is now really well established. I'm going to share some specific numbers with you on this program. I think that's really informative. Look, the coin value is driven either by speculation or by usage demand. And so I'm going to expand on that a little bit in this presentation. I think the one thing that I would restate is that we remain absolutely confident that Dacxi is a top 100 coin. And, you know, this team is working jolly hard to make sure that we are progressing towards the point where we can realize the full value of the coin. But I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that influence that in particular timeframe. But in the end, of course, the market decides, not Dacxi. So the structure for this presentation, I won't read all this out to you, but we're going to cover a few different areas. And the sequencing of this has been, you know, a bit of thought's been given to that. So hopefully the flow of this presentation works for everybody. So starting with Dacxi Coin Basics. So I think as everyone is well aware, the purpose of the cryptocurrency of Dacxi chain and the Dacxi ecosystem. And our use case is really around, the primary use case is around the international transfer for investments. There are multiple other use cases though, and these are really important because these can be realized once we realize the primary use case. So an exchange coin for secondary markets for tokens, node staking for Dacxi blockchain, and the Dacxi ecosystem where utility as it relates to things like fees, e-commerce and incentives. In terms of user demand, well, really the seminal moment was in 2018 where demand was initially created around this vision of the Dacxi ecosystem. And then of course, the other big milestone will be the Dacxi chain, and that's projected for late this year. So I think all of that is well known to everybody. Let's just have a quick look at the market itself. So I've got an example here, which I'll come to in a moment, but if we think about the different stages of evolution of the crypto markets, 2009 to 16 was, what we call sort of crypto 1.0, the emergence of Bitcoin. Crypto 2.0 was 17 through to the end of 18, beginning of 19. Ethereum did their ICO over that period. Crypto 3, which is the period we're in now, is where we're starting to see a more rapid maturing of the market. And in particular, what you would have referred to as Web3, you would have heard referred to as Web3. And Web3 is really about saying this concept of decentralization that blockchain brings to the table will be realized across the broader applications associated with the web and the internet. It's not just about blockchain. In other words, in its ultimate manifestation, blockchain is bigger than the internet, magnitudes larger than the internet. And Web3 is about saying all web-enabled communications and applications will become increasingly decentralized on blockchain technology. And we're really at the early stages of rushing towards that realization. Now, Crypto 4 is where we start to see what we call retail participation and practical applications for crypto and blockchain technology. And by practical, I'll expand on this in another slide in a moment. But this is where real everyday problems will start to be addressed as the technology evolves. In exactly the same way that as the internet evolved, it went from sort of a plaything to a crazy idea to brochureware to where it is today, where it actually powers a significant amount of our communications, our commerce, our media, and a whole range of other things. And so this is exactly the same path that we see for crypto. Cardano is a really interesting reference point here in terms of the journey that they are on. So an Ethereum co-founder who pioneered proof of stake in 2016 created Cardano. In 2017 and 18, we hit the crypto 2.0 period, and Cardano experienced a 50 times boom and bust, which you can see on this chart is on the left-hand side there, where it went from 2 cents up to $1. 2018 through to May 2020, the price dropped to 2.5 cents, and it stayed there for years, a couple of years, more than a couple of years. And then the crypto 3 wave hit, and they hit an all-time high that was 120 times the low point, and today they're trading at 50 times that low point. And so it's just a really good reference point to show that innovation in our space, it takes time for those businesses to develop, for the communities around them to be developed, and the interest in the coin, which then ultimately, as the underlying business and use case develops, for the interest in the coin to materialize in the value of the coin. So I think Cardano is a really interesting reference point and worth sharing with you. All right. So where are we in the crypto market today? Well, look, we've been through a period where there's been a fair bit of sideways movement. Interestingly, over that period, sort of a price floor emerged. And if we look at what's happened more recently, there's obviously been an uptick in the value of crypto markets. Now, where this goes from here, we're not in a position to say with any authority or definitively exactly what's going to happen. I think we'll continue to see volatility. If we look at just the growing ownership base, particularly of the major coins that substantially affect what you're seeing here in terms of total market cap of the industry, the ownership base continues to broaden. I think that points to over the medium term, price appreciation, and that the market will continue to improve. But of course, the time frame and the volatility between now and then is obviously an unknown. But certainly, our view is, and it's just an opinion, our view is that the markets over time, will continue to improve, and as I say, the ownership base, particularly, escalating participation with the institutional community globally, that really points to what we believe is a really healthy future for valuations. One of the ways to think about where the market is at today is what we describe as this sort of professionalization era. And this is really about two things. It's about scale and quality. And this is a time-honored stage in the evolution and maturing of any new market. So we've got consolidation around quality, blue chip, growth coins, top 200 coins. There is a flight to quality. Quality projects with analysts saying, well, how credible is the value story? So again, the conversation has shifted from speculation and opportunism to what is the sustainable quality of the various projects on offer. We've seen the number of exchanges consolidate. Tier ones are driving a lot of that consolidation, as you would expect. So that's, this is about the scale part of scale and quality. We've seen a distinct decline in decentralized exchange tokens. And we believe that, there's every probability that will continue. And that's due in no large part to, in no small way rather, to the fact that regulation is coming. So what's happening is the industry is growing up, and that process is accelerating. And so that's what we call the professionalization era. The emergence of crypto 4.0, which is this retail or public-facing stage of the development of the industry, is when we get into these, a long and diverse list of really practical solutions around payments, projects. We're getting into a whole range of different asset classes. So this is where the tokenization of all asset classes also starts to really emerge in earnest. And that will cover a whole range of different asset classes. One of those that we're particularly focused on is clearly crowdfunding, but there are many others. And this is where we'll start to see the mass adoption of crypto ownership. So to give you some numbers on this, today about between 200 and 250 million individuals own cryptocurrencies. That's predicted to exceed 300 million by the end of this year. And the following year, 2023, independent projections put that at 1 billion. So 3x next year, which really just highlights this accelerating participation in the industry, and 4.0, which is these retail applications for cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, is going to be a really key part of driving that acceleration. In terms of our positioning today, so as I mentioned in the opening remarks, we've repositioned Dacxi Coin from being an ecosystem cryptocurrency to really focusing it around the Dacxi chain. And we did that in December 2021. In that same month, we launched the Daxycoin.io website. I'm sure many of you have seen that. If you haven't, I'd encourage you to take a look at that. And then in tandem with that, we've started to launch much more significant PR campaigns, particularly around us as thought leaders in the tokenization of crowdfunding. So if you look at this this screen grab here, what it shows is that we are, if you do a search on Google around tokenized crowdfunding, Dacxi is results 1, 2, and 5. And so, you know, this is unambiguous progress in terms of driving the message around Dacxi, Dacxi Coin, the Dacxi chain, which is now much more closely linked to the story of the coin through that process that we went through in December. And this is now coming through in the referencing that Google are doing. So essentially what I'm saying here is the work that we're doing to drive awareness and understanding around tokenization of crowdfunding, how the Dacxi chain and the Dacxi coin is central to that opportunity, it's absolutely having an effect. So we're extremely encouraged by seeing these types of results. Now, if we look at the actual community, I think we'd broadly accept that the crypto trading community is absolutely key to credibility in our industry, and the crypto trading community also drive growth on a sustainable basis. So there's a couple of numbers here I wanted to share with you. Over the period that I'm sharing this update, so let's call it December through to March, our Twitter community, off the back of our marketing activity, grew from 1,000 to 70,000. Our Telegram community grew from 1,000 to 29,000. And on the CMC watch list, we went from 1,000 to 13,000. So our community in aggregate has grown from 3,000 to 100,000. By any measure, that is really material growth in the community. And the community speaks to, it speaks to interest. So if you've got a growing community, you've got growing interest. If you've got growing interest, that gives you the opportunity to build liquidity. And as you build liquidity and the underlying use case is realized and we progress towards that, what we're saying is we are in the best possible position to realize the future value in exactly the way we had always intended. I should also point out, we're not sitting on our laurels here in relation to the growth in these community numbers. We want to hit 100,000 on Twitter. We want to hit 50,000 on Telegram. So they are real live targets in the business. There's a team of people that show up to think about and plan for and action how we can continue to grow the community to hit those goals. So we're going to be targeting lots of new groups. As always, we really encourage you to support that process, and your support is not just appreciated, it actually makes a difference. It really does make a difference. So from community, I'll move on to operations. So there are a number of coins that are currently vaulted, and that vaulting is scheduled to, or it's scheduled to be unvaulted on the 12th of May. We're going to bring that forward to the 2nd of May. More importantly, I want to talk about the circulating supply. So there's a certain volume of coin out there that's actually not held by the issuer. So if you go and you look at the circulating supply on CMC, they've got some kind of strange issue with their numbers around ratios. There is currently 35% circulating supply according to these numbers, but it's actually 39%. The unvaulting of coins at the beginning of May will add a further 6% and get us to 45%. And then with all of the coins that are not held by the issuer, that will increase to 78% in the second quarter. Second quarter is the June quarter, the quarter ending June 30. So that's significant. We're going to have a significant increase in the volume of coin that's part of that circulating supply. And of course, what that does is it drives the market cap, it drives the interest, and it has a compound effect. In the second quarter, we're also going to release a sell function on the exchange. It's actually, from a tech perspective, quite complicated. There's a lot of nuance to how that technology needs to operate for that to be a smooth experience for the client. But we've made the decision that that we're going to launch that sell functionality on the exchange in the second quarter, and we're also going to allow unlimited withdrawals. in the second quarter. Okay. So, you know, we're opening this up and we're opening it up because our confidence is building, the interest is growing, and of course the business is progressing towards the realization of the use case around Dacxi chain and around tokenized crowdfunding. In terms of liquidity, just quickly covering off trading turnover. So the way that we look at trading turnover and the way that a lot of the CMC and others look at it is in terms of daily volumes. And so if we look at this since December of last year, daily volumes have really fluctuated quite significantly. So, you know, we've had peaks and troughs of 20,000 up to 600,000 a day, back to 25,000 up to 100,000 a day. These are dollars. Our belief is so it's stabilized, and we're now looking at an average minimum of about 100,000 a day, which is significantly up on what it was. And we believe that we can hit some really significant numbers by the year end as we consolidate this significantly larger community group in terms of interest, and as we progress against our use case. So there are some other things that obviously impact liquidity. One of those is listings. So listings are about liquidity. Liquidity in turn is one of the factors that impacts the price. So we remain committed to driving liquidity. And as you can see from the previous slide, we've made some good progress in that area. So at the moment, as I'm sure you're all well aware, Dacxi Coin is listed on HitBTC, Bit4X, CoinsBit, Crex24, and also on Uniswap. The exchange market has really shifted in the last 12 months, and this is, again, a continuation of some of the themes I've already touched on. The tier one exchanges are really focused on the top 300 coins. They just want trading volumes. They want traders. They're obviously focusing on the hot coins in the sort of 3.0 phase of the market, which we're in now. The tier 2 and tier 3 exchanges are really focused on a much smaller subset, which obviously constitutes the majority of their trading volumes. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell their exchange to every other coin out there, where they can take a large fee to list those coins. So, you know, they're really transitioned to, so by way of example, rather than us contacting exchanges, increasingly exchanges are contacting us saying, look, would you be interested? Because this is a key part of their revenue model. And also they recognize that particularly the tier 3 exchanges, that this flight to quality and scale has implications for them as an exchange. And we'll see continued consolidation in the exchange space, as we've already mentioned. In terms of where we are on listings, we had, up until quite recently, an additional tier 2 exchange that was well advanced in the planning stages. It so happens that this exchange was the largest Russian and Ukrainian exchange, and in terms of those particular markets, their participation on this exchange. So clearly, for obvious reasons, we've put that on pause, but we are in discussions with 2 additional tier 2 exchanges. And we also are in discussions with a tier 1 exchange. And that is absolutely a focus for us. We are very laser focused on that. Because again, the trading community that we can tap into, the liquidity we can drive, and the implications for that on the value of the coin is really significant. Price. Look, one of the things that we thought might be worth reminding everybody is that we had an all-time high of 9 cents. So over the November-December period, we were trading at 1/4 cent off a volume of $20,000 a day. In December 21, it went back up, you know, nearly 10x to 2.2 cents off much larger volumes. And this correlated with the period where we repositioned the Dacxi Coin. We launched the Dacxi Coin website. On the 18th of March, we were trading at 0.38 of a cent off lower volume. On the 31st of March, it was trading up again at 1/2 cent off much higher volumes of 200,000 a day. So I guess what you can see for yourself here is it's volatile. And look, it's going to continue to be volatile until the price really pops and we get that boom. So volatility is absolutely something we can all expect with the coin. Until we get to any of the following points in time. The price is really going to move when we start to tap into much larger communities. For example, the tier 1 exchanges. You know, they've got millions of people that are using those platforms actively, trading on those platforms. So that is a quantum shift, orders of magnitude, in terms of what happens with the liquidity in the Dacxi coin. And with that, we can expect that we'll start to see, we'll start to realize greater value for the coin. Another event that would have a material impact on the price is when we start to see crypto 4.0 really take shape. And so this is about an acceleration of tokenization of asset classes other than cryptocurrencies specifically. And crypto 4.0, of course, as I mentioned previously, is really about more practical applications for crypto tokens and blockchain generally. And we're, you know, this is not far away. We're starting to move towards it. And as I described earlier, that movement is accelerating. And then the other is the launch of the Dacxi chain, where we realize the use case more fully for the first time. So, and I've already described that, you know, we believe we can get to version 1.0 of tokenized crowdfunding sometime late this year. So whether it's an alpha or a beta. So in other words, there are multiple events that can start to shift the price very dramatically. But between now and those events, we can expect the price will continue to be volatile, as evidenced by what we've seen over recent months. So look, just sort of getting to the pointy end of this, and I'll wrap up. But the evolution of the underlying value, it's just really worth restating that we are a wealth platform, and Dacxi is the first in crypto wealth. I'm just going to take 30 seconds to explain why we know that. Yesterday, there was a conference in Sydney. I would describe Australia as a relatively sophisticated and certainly crypto embracing market. And there was a conference in Sydney where the best and the brightest in the industry got up and talked about what their observations were around what's happening in the market. And increasingly, the narrative was around this shift from speculation to trading and trading to wealth. In other words, it's always interesting to show up to these events and think to yourself, I wonder what we're going to hear today. And I wonder if we really are in the great position that we believe we are in as it relates to crypto wealth and the opportunity that presents. And look, I can say unambiguously, we are absolutely ahead of the game as it relates to understanding the opportunity for crypto wealth. Dacxi is a leader in this space. Our thinking, our ideas, our planning, we are ahead of everyone else who's talking about this. And of course, our challenge and opportunity is to make sure that we stay ahead. So when we say first in crypto wealth, I just wanted to mention that the experience I had at this event yesterday is incredibly reassuring that we are absolutely at the bleeding edge of crypto wealth. The Dacxi Global Network of Wealth Platforms, this is really about the continued internationalization of the business and the network effect that that creates, and this uniquely powerful foundation that that gives us. And we will start to realize that network effect, that compound network effect through growth and internationalization in this calendar year. The Dacxi chain, our global tokenized crowdfunding network, we see globalized tokenized crowdfunding as being an opportunity for, you know, 2 or 3 of these big global networks. It's over 100 countries is the scale of the opportunity. And if we look at the potential global market for tokenized crowdfunding, we believe it's conservatively about 100,000 projects a year globally, potentially much, much higher than that. The funding that will flow through to those investee organizations in the tokenized crowdfunding space, again, very conservatively, is about $100 billion of annual funding, potentially as much as $1 trillion within a few years. So if we look at Dacxi's participation in that market opportunity, again, if we take a really conservative view and say, look, let's imagine we get 10% market share. And just as a point of reference, the way these things shake out is that the top two players in a market such as this would typically take a percentage of the market that's 3 to 4 times greater than all of the others underneath it. Okay, so at 10%, we think that's very conservative. That represents about 10,000 new projects a year, or $10 billion in funding per year, and the requirement in terms of the cryptocurrency requirement that sits underneath that, underpins that, is about 50 to 100%, which in turn requires $5 to $10 billion of currency to flow through that ecosystem. So when we're conservative and we look at the global opportunity, it just serves to reassure us that the scale of the opportunity that we're all working towards is really material. It's genuinely material, and for me personally, it's incredibly motivating to know that we're chasing an opportunity that has genuine global scale. And look, just want to remind everybody about the quality of this organization. The business was established back in 2017. We've got well over 50 people, offices around the world. Our regulatory focus is in established, mature, sophisticated, well-regulated markets. All of our tech is in-house, built by crypto technology experts. We understand exchanges, we understand custody, we understand development. We have the foundations in this business to scale globally and exponentially, and to realize a significant amount of that opportunity by the end of this year. And we think that pioneering global tokenized crowdfunding is an opportunity of a lifetime and something to really show up for. And so I think in combination, it's just worth remembering that this is a professional, well-run, really experienced organization. And what we're chasing is real, and the opportunity is coming very much into focus. But look, I'll just leave you with this thought. As you would expect, we get, endless questions about what's happening with Dacxi Coin, what's happening with the price, and where are we at? And those questions are totally understandable. Any investor in any business is going to want to understand what the state of play is. But I would also encourage you to just think about this. There is a threshold here that you can either step over or you can't. And the threshold is believing in the opportunity, believing in our ability to execute against that opportunity, and believing that something like tokenized crowdfunding and the value that can create for the holder of Dacxi Coin is absolutely a journey you want to be on. And so I just encourage people, you can see from some of the changes we're bringing in the second quarter in the platform, we are not going to be spending inordinate amounts of time trying to reconvince people of the same story and the same people again and again and again. Our job is to build the business, be totally transparent in the state of the business and the progress that we are making, answer questions and be accountable for the way that we're managing towards our objectives and our vision. But in the end, your role is to either believe it or not. And so we want to have people on the journey who are committed and committed to this journey because they see the vision and they think that being on that journey with us is absolutely is going to be rewarding. So I just encourage people to take that view, and it's a view that I've expressed to investors in other organisations I've worked in. Believe and come on the journey with us, and if you don't think you can do that, then step away. Move away, and we would understand that as well. But of course, we obviously want you with us, and we think we've got something incredibly exciting that's going to be rewarding for all of us. So that's that's it from me. I might throw back to, is it yourself, Chris? I'm not sure if you want to just run a few minutes on questions.
Yeah, so I think at this point it's probably good to have some questions. Might be easier just for people to raise their hand on the thing, and then we'll just go to you one at a time.
I'll ask a question. Look, it's really good to see that the Twitter feed is up over 70,000 and the Telegram feed is now popping 31,000, but we're not seeing a price reflection on the Dacxi coin. So what should the community be doing? And I know you guys are doing everything you can to build value into the coin, but we're not seeing it on exchanges right now. So what do you think that we need to do to see a price reflection on the exchanges that were listed?
Well, the first thing that we'd say is your continued support is incredibly meaningful. This network effect where, your continued support as we start to build the following into more and more of these communities and helping us do that, getting involved in those, supporting those efforts, coming to us with ideas on how we might do that. They're all ways that you can support us. In the end, though, there is a fundamental belief that we have. And the fundamental belief is that if we assemble the right people and we tap into enough of the right communities and we deliver on the right opportunity with the right underlying business and foundations, that the value of the coin will just simply be realized, okay? And so that's what we're doing. What we're not trying to do is allow the tail to wag the dog. The byproduct of doing all those things where we realize our vision around Dacxi chain, tokenized crowdfunding on a global basis, the underlying foundations, which is the crypto wealth business, all those foundations will deliver the outcome for the coin holders. The time frame is not certain, but we are absolutely progressing in all of those areas. And the interest, the way to think about the following numbers, which have gone up so dramatically, is it's a temperature check on the level of interest. Interest doesn't instantly always translate to price. And the problem is when it does, it often translates to price in a way that's completely unsustainable. So what we've got to do is build the interest and build all of the underlying components, and that's exactly what we're doing. And I think the green shoots that we're seeing in these numbers is being reflected in the growth that we're having as a business, and the progress we're making on the tech front towards our vision of tokenized crowdfunding. That is a reality that is within our grasp. There's nothing on a technical level we can't achieve. There's nothing at a business level that we can't put in place to achieve it. It's absolutely within our grasp. So the time frame remains uncertain, but I'm more confident at a personal level than I've ever been that we can deliver on the vision.
Yeah, you got a question there?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I have. Thank you. Excellent presentation, Ian. You touched earlier on the credibility of the value proposition. I understand the need for liquidity, and everyone else does. Has consideration ever been to have a pilot of the venture exchange in the UK? The market here is ripe for it. We have a management team in the UK which are ideally placed to execute that. And the reason I'm saying that is that when traders look at coins, they'll look at the value proposition. They'll see, they want to see the use case in operation. And that would, I think, colour in the use case. They'll show that it's actually operating, and I think that's a fundamental aspect of whether traders are likely to become excited, because something needs to ignite. So has consideration ever been given to you know, even if it means injecting liquidity, you know.
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting question, and thank you for your comments. Look, if we think about the sequence of things that we need to go through, we're just not ready yet to contemplate something like that. In terms of degrees of complexity, the venture exchange there are some mechanical elements to that are actually more complicated than Dacxi chain and tokenizing crowdfunding, and that's really the thing that we want to focus on. And I've given some reasonably specific timeframes around that. They're the things that we want to focus on first. You know, that's foundational. The venture exchange, the idea of some kind of beta release to drive some excitement, that's something that could have some merit. You know, when we're ready to dive into to that part of the business, that absolutely may have merit, and we'll look at it on its merits. But in terms of the sequence of events, and I'm not disagreeing that, I'm not suggesting it may not excite people either. It's quite possible it would, but people would also use it as a barometer to understand how effective and what the opportunity is for that exchange. So there are multiple considerations. To wrap it up, there's multiple considerations. The idea of some kind of beta release could have some merit, but in terms of the sequencing of things we need to get done, the foundational elements around Dacxi chain, tokenizing crowdfunding, these are the things that are in the frame as the primary or the priorities at the moment.
Sean, do you want to have a go at asking that question of yours?
Hi, yes, please, if that's possible. Hi, Ian. I was just wondering if it would be possible just to speak a little bit more about the self-certification issue with CoinMarketCap. Was it? I saw the slide earlier about the vaulting perhaps helping with certain visibility ratios. I just wondered whether that's too technical an issue for you to want to deal with, or whether or not you'd just be able to give us some indication, because I've been obviously following that with great interest, and we've seen that CoinMarketCap seemed quite inept at actually showing the true circulation for us.
Yeah, well, look, I think what I hopefully communicated on that slide is that there are a number of measures that we're committed to that is going to greatly increase circulating supply. That, you know, pretty much double it, right? So that's another one of those ingredients that in turn should drive, you know, what that does is it drives our market cap. The market cap drives interest, that drives liquidity, and so it has a knock-on effect. So we think that doing that is pretty important. We also think the anomaly on CMC is something that, you know, we can address in the process in terms of the way they're reporting our circulating supply. So we think it's important. You know, that's why I've talked about it today. We're committed to that. There's a number of measures that will greatly increase that circulating supply within a few months.
Super. Thank you. So wonderful presentation, by the way, and absolutely wonderful. Liked that a lot.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Martin, do you have a question?
Yes. When I'm talking to other people about Dacxi, one of the questions that comes up regularly is that given how many people are involved in the project now, we've got 50 plus people working on it, and you know the funding that needs to go into that, where is that funding coming from?
Well, the business is well capitalized through the Dacxi Coin, but we're a growing business, so it's just worth remembering that every month we're signing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new clients. Over time, the average that they're investing with us is growing.
So there's a proportion of the sorry, tell me if I'm wrong, there's a proportion of the Dacxi coin that's been sold that is being used for the funding of these operations.
That's correct. And that was also used to fund the partner program, which was a critical element in the establishing of the business. So it's been used to fund a number of really critical elements. But in terms of the funding for the business today, we are focused on growth, right? So there are some very clear objectives in the sales and marketing organization around growth for this year. And they don't just relate to the volume of customers, they relate to the value of the holdings that sit within the customer base with our clients. So you know, the business is growing, and that growth is going to accelerate this year. And that's really an increasingly significant part of how the business is funded.
Yeah, the revenues though, you say it's a growing business, where are the revenues coming from? This is what I get asked. That's why I'm just passing on the question.
Well, they come from fees. So when you trade on our platform, we charge some small fees, which you'd be familiar with. And so that's the significant majority of our revenues is from those different fees. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Evan, you've got a question?
Yes, please. Thanks very much, Ian. Great presentation. I think certainly given me added confidence to stay the course. The majority of my clients, if you want to put it that way, invested with a view to creating wealth, either medium or long term. Certainly not, they weren't given the impression by me that this was a short-term project. And I also explained what the intention was with the crowdfunding. A number of them did understand, a number of them didn't, but they invested because they trust me. Now, although I used to, and I still do from time to time, send out an email informing them, I don't know how many of them read it, but what would be enormously helpful, I think, to myself and my clients would be maybe a monthly AMA with yourself that we could plug people into if they wish to. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, the old story is you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And even if you took salt in its mouth, they sometimes spit it out. But at the end of the day, I'm quite happy to promote that as a way of people keeping up to date. Once a month shouldn't be too onerous. And failing that, I would send that recording out on an email. I think something like that would be enormously helpful. Give confidence to people that have invested and then forgotten about it or not concerned about it because they've seen the price of the coin slip from what they bought at. And it would be unfortunate if they all decided to bail out as soon as it got to what they would regard as a significant profit, because they would lose the opportunity later on to participate in the crowdfunding, etc., etc. So if you could maybe consider that and give us your opinion as whether that would be possible, I think it would be enormously helpful, and I would promote that like mad. And then at the end of the day, they've got the choice. They can't say, well, I've heard nothing. And despite the fact we get the weekly email and information and up-to-date newsletter, I don't know how many of them read it. I would think a minority as opposed to the majority.
Yeah, thanks, Gavin. Look, it's a really worthwhile suggestion. Just to reiterate, our commitment is to have a session like this with myself on a quarterly basis. So it's a regular fixture. I think what you're saying is you'd like it to be more regular than that. So look, we'll go away and have a chat about it, definitely.
Yeah, just a monthly progress. We're here. It doesn't have to be long, but it's something that, you know, we're seen to be saying, hey, look, here is the information. Here's the update. If you don't watch it, that's your choice, but it's not the onus is on us to provide it, whether you then consider it. But I would promote it massively. You know, I would really go to town on that. Give them no excuse for saying, you know, we don't know anything or.
Yeah, no, thanks, Gavin. I understand your point. So leave that one with us.
Thanks, and again, great presentation. I'll ping that out to everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Lowe, I sent you a note from Dennis, but I might ask Ed if he's got something to say while he's on the line.
No, nothing much. Look, guys, it's I have a specific responsibility to look after the coin on exchanges and the marketing and sort of lead that team. And what we're finding is that, you know, we're doing everything that's technically required to sort of position the coin effectively within the market. We still have these little things around coin market cap. You know, that's part of the reason why we wanted to show you it on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko is CoinGecko, CoinPaprika, all that circulating supply is all sorted. Look, the key thing is that I think you will see, for certainly those people that have been with us for quite a while, you will see the pretty dramatic evolution of the business now, as far as the different areas of development and the fundamental drivers. And that's the real key thing. The fundamental drivers around this coin are all there. It's just a matter of when they kick in. And I love that Cardano story because, you know, there's the guy who's the co-founder of Ethereum. No one has, you know, more credibility to start a new coin than Charlie Hodgkinson. And, you know, they sat around for a couple of years and it really wasn't until that sort of strategic wave hit them. And we've studied all the major coins that have been doing things on the exchanges over the last 18 months, and they're pretty much all Web3 ones. If you don't say Web3 NFT in your story, then you don't have a chance. And even then, maybe, you know, maybe 1 in 50 get picked up because they don't have a solid business behind them. They're just a few tech ideas. The difference with us is that we have that robustness in our story. We have that coverage in our story. So we, you know, if anyone's going to, when that market kicks, we will be one of the first cabs off the rank. And the other challenge you have is that, as I said to someone last week, they said, oh, you know, I think I'm going to, you know, sell some of my coins and that sort of stuff. And I said, sure, you know, like if you don't believe in what we're doing, do that. My question is, what are you going to put it in? Like, you know, you don't have anything in Daxycoin, but it's, you know, we're positioned for that, you know, for the big kicker, you know, the one, you know, that part of your portfolio that's really going to rock and roll. And like, I challenge, you know, any of these other sort of little coins that you see around the place that provide the level of transparency and education and credibility that we do. They just simply don't. So what are you going to put your money in that has the same opportunity? You're like, you know, you just know that as soon as you sell your coins, the coin is going to kick and serves you right. It's like a classic fear of missing out. But, you know, for us, you know, it's just crazy how long these things take. Crazy, you know, it's nothing like I imagined. But the difference is that the good thing about crypto is when it does rock and roll, it really, really does rock and roll. So, look, as Ian explained, you know, we're extremely well positioned, and for me personally, I'm just appreciate so many of you, you know, the journey that we've had so far. So, yeah, that's me. Good to see you guys.
Lovely, you got that one question for Dennis. Just say that. So Dennis asked the saying tokenized crowdfunding. Is it a search term that's expected to be used a lot over the next couple of years?
Well, certainly it's going to be used a lot more. So yes, the answer is yes. And there's one way to get it used a lot more, which is to go out and actually deliver it and make it real. Then it gets used a lot more.
I tell you one thing that you can help us. Hey, we have a campaign coming out that I reckon is going to be absolutely huge. It's called Dacxi FC. Okay. And it's just a genius idea. Just to get people to interact, to get them to interact with Dacxi, and it won't be out for at least a week. But when it comes out, Dacxi FC, I want you to talk to everyone you know to get involved with that, because the purpose is like literally to have some fun, and to do that, you need to click on some Twitter or Telegram channel. The whole idea, guys, just so you know, the whole idea is platforms, tier one platforms. One of the most important things that they look at, probably in the top, once they look at your use case and that sort of stuff, but as far as getting excited about what you do, the size of your community is absolutely fundamental. And so that's why it's so important to have over 100,000. And if we can have a viral campaign that adds hundreds of more thousands of people to that community, then it helps. So that's what I'm saying. It's as far as sharing a campaign, we think the Dacxi FC things will be good. It'll suit a lot of you Brits, because you're into football, not so much down under here. Football is not a round ball where I come from. So but as far as our big, we've actually got a lot of people following us in Latin America and Europe and parts of Asians that are big on football. It's suits that sort of crypto trader speculator market that you have to get with exchange. So Dacxi FC, we'll get behind it, right? Go Chelsea.
Very good. Good. You want to close it out? It's nearly 9 o'clock.
Look, Ed. Hey guys, thank you very much for hosting tonight. Ian, a great presentation. It hasn't given me any more belief in Dacxi, because my belief in Dacxi is no different now to what it was 5.5 years ago. I think we really are on the money for delivering a huge solution to a crowdfunding problem. And we have a very big crowdfunding problem, and use case is the winner. So we have a very big use case, big problem. And over the last few years, you've developed the tech, the admin team, and a solution to a very big problem. Of course, the price will be reflected. Of course, the market at the moment has been very volatile, and we're experiencing that volatility across all cryptocurrencies. And Charles Hopkinson would be just shaking his head going, what more can I do? But he has a great program, as we've talked about tonight, and I'm sure that Ian is at the helm of a very big solution for crowdfunding and tokenization. The world is going to look at the world of cryptocurrency and go, what is cryptocurrency really? And one of the really big things is going to be this thing called tokenization. And Dacxi will be a global leader in that. I think the model that we've been implementing over the last 5 years is going to be extraordinary. And I'm very happy that Ed is really focusing on his specialty in growing the platforms globally. Ian's specialty is building the community, the tech, and driving it forward. And I'm very grateful for Chris to be our sales director within Australia, and everyone in the community that's joined tonight who will share the video when it comes out and get behind the Dacxi FC program as well. I think we are on a very big growth curve, and I'm very excited to be part of the Dacxi team, the Dacxi community, and being part of Dacxi. So thank you very much for everyone joining tonight, and especially the admin team. Thank you.